Buying solar panels sounded like a good idea, but the reality is they're now costing you money. If you bought your panels in the past 6 years with a loan from Barclays, Shawbrook, Creation or Ecarno, and they failed to live up to expectations, then you may have a case for thousands of pounds in compensation. At Solar Claims UK, many clients receive their settlement within 4 weeks. So text SOLAR to 60777. Text SOLAR to 60777 now. You don't need a claims management company to make a claim, and if unsuccessful, you can refer it free to the Financial Ombudsman.
On today's programme, more than 100,000 dead and a warning coronavirus could take thousands more lives. And we have a special report to mark Holocaust Memorial Day.
There's still many people that really don't know what happened.
And in sport, Manchester City atop of the Premier League. I'm Kevin Pashby. This is the Lunchtime News from Radio News Hub. Our first story this lunchtime. The coronavirus pandemic has reached a grim milestone as the death toll passes 100,000. And today we're hearing more could die, as many as 50,000. Yesterday, the Prime Minister confirmed the figures as he insisted the government has done everything to reduce the impact of the virus.
I am deeply sorry for every life that has been lost. And of course, as Prime Minister, I take full responsibility for everything that the government has done. What I can tell you is that we truly did everything we could and continue to do everything that we can to minimise loss of life.
Let's get more on this now from Andy Seddon.
Mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents and friends, all fallen victims to COVID-19. And there's no sign of things improving anytime soon. Leading government scientist Callum Semple has today predicted another 50,000 people could die. There's some positive news. England's Chief Medical Officer Chris Whitty says case numbers do seem to be dropping, but slowly. And when it comes to lockdown, he's warning we should be careful not to relax too early.
The number of people testing positive for COVID in the UK peaked at an extremely high number. It is still at a very high number, but it has been coming down. I want to just put one caution on that, which is that Office for National Statistics data demonstrates a rather slower decrease, and I think we need to be careful.
Well, Shadow Health Secretary Jonathan Ashworth has labelled the COVID deaths milestone as horrendous, and he says we didn't need to be in this situation.
I'm sorry to say it, I really am, but I just don't believe that the Prime Minister, the government did do everything we could. I just don't accept that. We've had mistakes, we've had a litany of errors.
Housing Secretary Robert Jenrick appeared on TV this morning defending the government's record.
With the benefit of hindsight, you would say that some of the things that we did, we would do differently today. There will be things that we will look back on and be very proud on. I suspect the vaccine rollout, which is currently going well, may well be one of them.
Well, this lunchtime, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, says he's praying for the Prime Minister and any regrets he has about the government's response to the pandemic.
Next, this lunchtime, today is Holocaust Memorial Day, a day to remember the 6 million Jews and others who died during the Holocaust in the Second World War. Lady Melina Grenfell-Baines fled to Britain from Prague when she was 9. She escaped on Sir Nicholas Winton's life-saving kinder transport scheme. Now she travels around schools to educate children about the horrors of what happens.
There's still many people that really don't know what happened and don't believe what happened. I am strictly not a survivor. I was one of the children who came out with Nicholas Winton, but I lost my grandparents. I was lucky enough, my parents both escaped. I still feel that it's so important that this is not forgotten. Most of my life, I suppose, was light. I mean, there were, dark incidents, but generally I've been very lucky compared to a lot of my contemporaries. When I think it's always important to make sure that it never happens again.
88-year-old Ivor Pearl survived the Auschwitz concentration camp along with his brother. The rest of his family were killed. He now lives in North London but had the chance to return to Germany when he was a witness in the trial of a former SS soldier.
I had 70-odd years of sleepless night because of you, who you represented. And now, seeing what you are, I feel sorry for all those years that I wasted. My pity on you. But I thought to myself, Ivor, you know what? Surely that's not the right way. Obviously, there has to be hate and and curse there. But no, I didn't have it in me.
Looking at some other stories in the news this lunchtime, it looks like the Home Secretary will announce a limited plan for new arrivals to England to have to quarantine in hotels later. Priti Patel is due to make a statement to the House of Commons on border protections against new coronavirus variants coming from overseas. The disadvantage gap among secondary school pupils had become wider even before the coronavirus pandemic. That's according to a report from the Northern Powerhouse Partnership. The coalition of business and the city leaders say bold, swift action is now needed from the government. Joe Biden's had his first call with Russian leader Vladimir Putin. The US president raised concerns about the arrest of opposition figure Alexei Navalny while pressing the Russian president on his nation's involvement in a massive cyber espionage campaign. Protesters fighting the construction of a major high-speed rail line linking London with the north of England have dug a series of tunnels near to Euston Station. HS2 rebellions say an area of green space outside the station is threatening to be destroyed by building work. They built hidden tunnels with a plan to occupy them for as long as it takes.
We're now going to just crack on and just get as many metres of this tunnel under our belts as we can. The more metres we can get, the longer the eviction's going to be, the more dramatic, the more attention we'll get, and the sooner we'll stop HS2. That's the plan.
HS2 Limited won't comment on the specifics but say illegal actions could be a danger to people's safety. A reminder of the top stories this lunchtime from Radio News Hub. We'll have your business news and find out which star has had to leave Dancing on Ice with a shoulder injury, and in sports there'll be a new face in the dugout at Stamford Bridge tonight.
Were you persuaded to buy solar panels with assurances they would pay for themselves or even make you money? If those promises haven't come true and you bought your panels in the past 6 years with a loan from Barclays, Shawbrook, Creation or Ecarno, then you may be entitled to thousands of pounds in compensation. At Solar Claims UK, many of our clients receive their settlement within 4 weeks. So text SOLAR to 60777. Text SOLAR to 60777 now. You don't need a claims management company to make a claim, and if unsuccessful, you can refer it free to the Financial Ombudsman.
A reminder of the top stories on the lunchtime news from Radio News Hub. The human cost of coronavirus as death figures pass 100,000 and we're warned thousands more could die. And buildings across the UK will light up purple today for Holocaust Memorial Day, the events to remember the 6 million lives lost. Now business news, and some shoppers at Morrison's and the Co-op have been struggling to pay due to IT issues. The supermarkets say the cause is under investigation as some Brits were left queuing outside the Co-op earlier this week. Both retailers say card payments are now being processed as usual. and it only affected a small number of transactions. The rollout of the vaccine is causing a boosted demand for cruise trips among the older generation. The over 50s firm Saga has revealed 86% of people are choosing to rebook their holiday rather than get a refund. Saga has been forced to put its travel operations on hold due to the pandemic, but say they still have £140 million worth of forward bookings under its belt. And 68% of credit card holders don't know what APR is and why it's costing them money. That's according to a report from KIS Finance. Only 31% of adults in the UK could correctly identify the annual percentage rate, which is the cost of how much you pay each year to borrow money. Now with the sport, here's Carl Hartley.
Thanks, Kevin. Pep Guardiola has called for calm after Manchester City went top of the Premier League by thrashing West Brom at 5-0. City are a point ahead of Manchester United, although their rivals can reclaim top spot with victory over Sheffield United tonight. That's likely because Sheffield United aren't doing too good. There are 4 other Premier League matches this evening. One of them sees new Chelsea boss Thomas Tuchel sitting in the dugout as Chelsea play Wolves. He's signed an 18-month contract with an option to extend it. He takes over from Frank Lampard. Rugby now, and Eddie Jones has backed Joe Marler after he withdrew from England's Six Nations squad to be with his family during the pandemic. The Three Lions head coach insists Marler will be considered for future team selection. And British number 1, Joanna Konta, is looking forward to a quarantine period coming to an end ahead of the Australian Open. Players who arrived in Australia earlier this month have been isolating for 2 weeks due to coronavirus. The first Grand Slam of the year starts from next week.
Time for showbiz news, Denise Van Outen has had to withdraw from Dancing on Ice after partially dislocating her shoulder during training. The 46-year-old fell during rehearsals for the series launch earlier this month and made her debut on the ice with her shoulder strapped up. Sir Elton John's among a group of contributors to an essay collection titled The Queer Bible. The musician's written about the late US drag performer Divine for the book. Sir Elton features alongside TV presenter Graham Norton, Queer Eye star Tan France and model Monroe Bergdorf. The collection of essays will be published in the summer. And Danny Harmer says fans of Tracy Beaker will be pleased to see what a great parent her character has become. It comes as the new instalment of the popular TV series will air next month. My Mum Tracy Beaker will depict the character from the Dame Jackie Wilson books in her 30s. This has been the Lunchtime News from Radio News Hub. I'm Kevin Pashby.